of the trees because it could not go through the toll gate, so they cut it all off. And then they just planted like the trunk only. So it's no more baobab. It's just a trunk of a baobab tree. And I don't understand that. So Arbain Rambe, my friend, was, I think you put that twice here, Arbain, yeah, in Compass.
Yeah, but I think there's still one alive there in the University of Indonesia.
Still one?
Last year I see one alive.
That's pretty sad. Anyway, it is now 2 p.m. So we're gonna start the webinar. For those who are joining, thank you very much. This is now our 6th 𝗦𝗣𝗘𝗥𝗦 in action webinar. This webinar has been such a key event for us because there's so many webinars today. So first thing first, thank you for your time. But the second thing is the reason that we've always had this webinar on demand to continue it every month after month, because it's the opportunity to really network, to not feel so alone in a time of, let's call it a time of tragedy. COVID has been a crazy time and so many people are suffering. I'm sure every one of us has suffered or is suffering as we speak, because this is not a one-time thing. This is gonna be a lasting thing. People are gonna remember 2020 as the year of the start of COVID. Until when? We don't know. We don't know. And so this webinar has continued, and every time we've done this webinar, we've always been able to connect different people who are doing different things and see a collaboration, or who are doing the same thing, who realized, oh, hold on, you're doing this project, I'm doing this project, let's work together. And by that, the reason of people coming back to this webinar. The key of this webinar is to showcase speakers, individuals who are doing such great things, especially in a negative time. People doing things with positivity, which is so important now because everything can seem so negative. We want to thank the 3 speakers today who came. We have 𝗦𝗍𝒩, a big-time photographer, Anik Ayu, the community organizer for the Klochong project, and Dr. Bayu from the Friends of the National Parks Foundation. Now, before we jump in and get to know these speakers, I want to say thank you to all those who are joining. If you haven't yet, please rename your name with if the company that you represent, or your company, or the community that you're part of, so that we can easily more relate. Or if you're not part of any community, that's okay. You can just put your name dash wants to know more about the environment, or about plants, or about I want to volunteer, for example, right? There's no right and wrong answer. Before we jump in, of course, this is all part of the Bali Pledge. Now, who best to explain about the Bali Pledge than the person who started this project a long, long time ago? I want to give a little bit of time to Alex from the Bali Pledge, who will share a bit about what this is all about. What is the Bali Pledge? Alex, I give it to you. A round of applause. You're muted.
Hi, hello everyone. Before we start, I just want to invite you to close your eyes and just drop within for a few seconds. Connect to your breath and just check in. How do I feel right now? We've been connecting already energetically, chatting a little bit. How do you feel in this group? I promise you something. You may not remember much from this webinar, but you will remember how those speakers will make you feel. Connecting to your heart right now. Maybe set an intention for yourself and for the group. Why am I here today? What is my intention in this group? Why did I decide to join? Is there a message I want to convey? There's something I want to receive. Everybody inhale and let it go. Open your eyes. Hi guys, I'm Alex. I'm the founder of Refill My Bottle, Be Greener, which is a community of mindful business owners. Refill My Bottle is an app showing you where you can refill your water bottle around the world. I started in Bali now during the earthquake in Lombok in Sulawesi. And yeah, I'm extremely, extremely grateful for Krishna for bringing so much joy and light. And today I feel more proud than ever because I'm in minority. I feel like there are so many Indonesians in this chat that really warms my heart. That was my intention from the beginning. I didn't want it to be another Bule initiative. And in order to do that, I stepped away in order to let Krishna take ownership, and he's doing it with such heart. So I really want to commend you and thank our speakers for taking the time to be here today. Just 2 words about the Bali Pledge. I've just put my email if you want to contact me and the link to the Bali Pledge. It's very simple. We are the ones we've been waiting for. There is no someone that's going to come and save us. You guys have a lot of experience about life. The problem with humans is we always hope that some kind of, whether you call it government, doctor, savior is going to come and all of a sudden with a magic wand is going to make everything be better. The truth is we have it all within. You are the medicine, as you know that all who are passionate about plants. We are the ones we've been waiting for. And by connecting with each other, by opening our heart, by collaborating, by seeing that together we are more than the addition of individuals, I believe that's the answer to what the future for Indonesia, for Bali, for the world, that's what we want. It's to claim back our sovereignty and just decide what kind of planet we want to live on. What do I have to give? The secret of living is giving. So what do I give today? What do I bring to the world? And just by sharing your light, inspiring people around you, this is how we make an impact. So I really invite you to check out the Bali Pledge, which is nothing more than, I believe, the solution to the future of tourism. I believe that the future of tourism is intentional travel. Why are you coming to a destination? I'm not telling you, I'm not judging you, I'm not telling you what's right, what's wrong. I think this has proven to be not working everywhere in the world. Greta Thunberg, not working. WWF, not working. Any of those big organizations, you know, I was heartbroken hearing the story of the baobab. You know, this is the dear reality. No one wants to be told what's wrong with them. We just need to change the strategy. I believe that I just giving you the space for you to decide what is your intention. Why are you coming to Bali? And getting you just to reflect on that. Then I believe that we have the answer to how to make this planet a better place, letting people do things intentionally. I do believe that there are, of course, 3 ways to come to Bali and make an impact. 1 is to connect with the community. 2 is to be close to nature, and we have people that are really close to nature today. And 3 is to kind of honor the fact that we are more than matter. There is some kind of spiritual connection that makes us, you know, not just this flesh and bones, but more than that. So this is the invitation for people coming to Bali to reflect on why they're coming here, and hopefully with all of us inspiring the world to be a better place. Thank you so much, Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely webinar.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Wise introduction. Amazing. Thank you. So as Alex was saying, this webinar is for everybody. And yes, we don't want to be another Bule webinar, but this is not, we're not discriminating, but we do want to showcase speakers who have been in Bali for a very long time, or at least have been in Indonesia for a very long time. Speakers who have been focused on the Balinese philosophy of Trihitakarana. Trihitakarana is a respect for nature, other people, and a higher being. Or if you're not religious, we say community. So people who support the environment, the local people, and the local culture. So just to be clear, we're not discriminating, but we do want to showcase speakers who have been doing this for a very long time. Quite so often you have new people who come to Bali, think they know it all, and then they try to change the way they see fit. And that's okay also sometimes. But let's hear it from the people who have been doing this for a very long time, who have felt it from when they first wanted to change, who are now changing it, and who are now fighting it day after day. It is not easy, especially during COVID times. Trying to survive is a whole different challenge. This webinar is 2 hours. The first hour is where we get to know our speakers a little bit better. The second hour is an open Q&A. During this open Q&A, no questions are taboo. Please ask away any questions you want. If you do not want to ask the question, but you want me to ask the question, that's okay also. Just chat me privately, no judgment. But if you want to ask the question, please go ahead. And of course, to respect the speakers who are going to share the knowledge and their experience, turn on your videos because it's a two-way conversation. Too often Zoom becomes just talking to a computer screen, which we don't want. I mean, this is the reality and this is the fact. But let's open the videos. Don't be shy. It's okay. You don't want to have your shirt on. That's okay also. You have your shirt. That's okay also. Now, without further ado, let us get to know our speakers. I will go first to 𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗦, who has been a photographer for 43 years. His current project is Plant Source, a free website documenting all the plants that we know in the world for free, and that's amazing. Also, he was the co-founder of the Leica Photography Indonesia group, which is such an amazing thing. And last thing, I don't want to get this wrong because it's a very long name. He started Sanggar Seni Sukarya, a training center teaching little girls and little boys to become performers. So, 𝗦𝗦𝗥, thank you for being a speaker. Welcome to the 𝗦𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗦 in action. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm very well. Thank you, Krishna. So,
43 years in photography. You want to share a bit about experience? If somebody says, hey, who are you? What do you say?
well, I'm first and foremost is a photographer. I'm a documentary photographer and all self-learn. I'm an autodidact. Yeah, I don't go to school for that, and I learn. And because I do a lot of photography, I created a lot of work, and then I have no way to publish it for a long time. Until I figured it out, I have to write. I have to start learning how to write. That's how I started writing and wrote feature articles. And the last thing I did now, I think I published already about 16 really good, high quality books.
Wow. How did the story come to be that you were documenting our past president, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono? How did that happen? Was it by pure luck, or were you friends with him when you were younger? How did that happen?
Well, I think this is a combination of the path, you know, it's drawn by somebody up there. So, and then also through a friend who is a personal photographer of the President SBY. So, and then Pak Dino Patijalal, the former ambassador to the US and also the vice minister, a foreign minister of Indonesia. He asked me whether I want to join to help the president with publicity and with all kind of things. So that's how it started. And then after a while, I produced a lot of books for him and helped him in publishing the books. And then he is very, very, very kind and is very nice to me, to my cause. And then also in the end, the late Madam Ani Yudhoyono asked me to be the curator and publisher of her books.
Who is Madam Yudhoyono, for those who don't know?
Madam is the first lady of the President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. She passed away a year ago. She actually helped me fund the project to make this encyclopedia, the 3,500. It's a very huge, expensive project that can only be financed by people in her capacity.
Wow.
With her help, I managed to get enough fund to publish it. Not for me, just for the people and the printing costs, etc., etc. I got financial support about 3.1 billion rupiah, but the printing cost is already 1.2 billion because the book is very thick, as you can see here in front of me. This is about 7 cm thick. Is 1,216 pages, and it contains about 3,600 species of plants. I photographed in 22 months of the project about 6,800 specimens of plants, about 5,600 species.
I mean, that's good news, right? I mean, it's good news because every day you hear people doing great things and they have no funding, they feel that they're not supported. And here we have an example of somebody doing something good for the environment, for the people, and it's funded.
Yeah.
Do you want to share? Is it pure luck, or is there a way to do it? Is there like a technique?
It's nothing is pure luck. See, what happened was Madam Ani Yudhoyono photographed a lot of plants. I was very confident, said I would go to Bogor Botanic Gardens. I will have all the names, everything in one source. I sit there and then check. It was not the case. So everything, all the data was spread around. So I have to need their help. So, and then after that, I realized that I went to Madam Ani Yudhoyono. I told her, we have to make this kind of books, but I have no money to do that. So please help. Yeah, with the blessing of the president, and we got the funding, but just enough to publish and to pay for all the costs of people involved. So I'm not paid for that job. So for about 400 days, I'm doing work, doing photography every day for about between 8 to 12 hours a day, and doing is really walking around kilometers after kilometers. So otherwise, the books will not be able to publish.
So why do you do it? You don't get paid for it. Why are you doing it? I mean,
because I want to have something that is useful for the people to learn the plant. I love plants. I love trees. So it's a pity that you cannot find the name of the plants and the trees the easy way. If you open any website, it's very difficult. If you don't know the name of the plant, I bought a book from Singapore, published by Singapore Botanic Garden. If I want to find a plant in there, I cannot do it easily because I don't know the category. In my book with Pak Joko, thanks to Pak Joko to give me a very good advice, I suggested that we divided the plants based on habitus, on the look of the plant, instead of on the family and on the genus and all kind of things, which is difficult. And with this, it's very easy now. If people look at it, oh, it is a tree, and go to my book and open tree. If it is small, looks like a shrub, and go to the shrub. But there is another problem. A shrub that looks small like that might not be a shrub. It could be a herb. So I give all this definition, thanks to Pak Joko. Pak Joko is actually writing all this definition. What is a tree? What is a shrub? What is a herb? What is the difference between tree and shrub? Between shrub and herb? This all explained in our book. This book is designed and is published for common people.
And currently it's going to be on the website.
Yes, now it is on the website. It's called plantsource.id.
Now, in terms of completion, how complete is the website? Because the promise of the website is a very big one, right? You said you're going to document all the plants that we know. That's a big, big promise. So how are we on the progress? Or are we racing against time? Because every year plants are being extinct. Is there a race against time here? What's the challenge that you are facing and the team is facing?
Well, in my case, most of the content of that encyclopedia are already in the website and is improving every day, because I do that every day. I do correction, I check, and then I add more pictures. So I think our website has the most complete pictures of a plant, like for people to learn completely about one plant, because our photograph covers everything from whole portrait to close-up of relevant information like the leaf, upper and under and upper, the flowers, the fruit, the distinguishing feature of the plants, like if it has spikes or hairy, whatever. So I learned when I photograph, I'm always accompanied by a technician, field technician of the botanical garden. So I always ask, what is the important part of this plant that I need to capture? So he will tell me, this plant is unique, like in the leaf shape, in the formation of the leaf, of the flowers, of the fruit. So I try to photograph all this. And the biggest challenge to photograph in the botanic gardens, all the trees are growing very close to each other.
Mm.
It's very difficult to get the whole complete portrait of individual plants. But because of the digital and the advancement of the digital photography, I can do it quite easily. You know, like making tall trees from a short distance. Now the camera gives you a feature called panoramic. And with that panoramic technique, you can get the picture of the tree from the roots all the way to the top without cutting. With the old time with the camera film, no way. I remember.
So then I saw on the website there was a list of all these botanical gardens.
Yeah.
So I have to assume somebody reached out to all these gardens and said, okay, we need to work together. Is that what happened, or was there no need, because maybe the first lady was like, okay, you all have to agree to whatever 𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗦 says? What was there like a progress to it?
Well, when we produced this book, there was not that many regional botanic gardens. That is pretty new. Yeah.
Mm.
So there are only 4 botanic gardens belonging to the Indonesian Institute of Science. Yeah, there is Bogor, Cibodas, Purwodadi, and Eka-Karya Bali. And then each one of these has a very unique collection. The Bogor and the Purwodadi, more or less lowland plant collection. But Cibodas and the Bali Eka-Karya as the highland plant collection.
Hmm.
So you have.
𝗦𝗦𝗥𝗦, so okay, so it seems like it's a pretty deep collection. Now, considering that you're now working on the Plant Source project, would there be one thing that you want the audience to do? Would there be one action point that you want people to do? Would it be to visit your website, to share the website, or help take photos? What would it be?
Well, number one, please visit the website. So my goal in the future is that website can support itself. Right now, everything is supported by myself and some good friends who help us. One of them is right there in the web, Mrs. Ibu Barbara Johnson. Thank you very much for your help.
Hi, Barbara Johnson.
So, yeah, and you know, we have very little help from corporation. There are 2 foundations that help us and 1 university. Thank you very much for them. And most of the support are from individual. And this individual is the sad thing about this individual, not the sad, but the happy thing for me, but they are all expatriates. Not even a single Indonesian actually gave us donation. These are all expatriate community who has been living in Indonesia. And that is very good. That is very encouraging for me to know. But now there are more and more Indonesian already opening our website. And we have every day maybe about 300 to about 400 visitors.
Wow, okay.
All over the world.
That's a sad, happy reality. That right now the only people who are supporting are expats. I mean, where's the local people? You know.
Yeah,
So,
that's why I wonder. It's 236 million people.
yeah, not what. Okay, well that's really sad. We'll talk about this in you know in a little bit to talk about that kind of collaboration between the different communities.
Yeah.
Right? But then thank you for sharing your story, and we'll get
You're
back
welcome.
to you in a second. I want to say hello to the next speaker. We have Anik Ayu from the Kluchung project. Hi Anik, how are you?
Hi. Hi.
Thank you for being a speaker to the webinar.
Yeah, thank you for having me too. it's really it's really a
It's
good
really
time for me.
awesome. It's really awesome. I mean, you know,
It's a good time.
things could be better, but we have a webinar and why not? We can share and discuss what we're doing now. Anik, do you want to share just briefly who you are? For the people in the webinar, they can be like, oh, okay, I can understand who Anik is better. Do you want to share a bit about yourself, please? Hello? Oh, don't be shy. No, I'm kidding. I think her connection. Her
Yeah.
connection.
Okay, I'm back. I'm back,
Yes.
I think. Yes.
Just introduce yourself for a few minutes.
Yes, I'm a lead project of Klechung community here in Tabanan in west south part of Bali. So we are doing ecotourism in the area and involving all the community. So I think it's been a special time for me since 2015 that I can lead the community to do the tourism in more eco ways than the mass tourism that people knows here in Bali. And nowadays we are doing also a project of hydroponics and regenerative farming to support the local community so they know how to farm using a green technology, and also the farming which is also friendly to the nature. So yeah,
That's amazing. Let's talk about you for a second, because to be a speaker on this webinar, you usually have to be recommended. Somebody has to say this speaker must be speaking because they're doing such great things. And never had I had so much pressure on my WhatsApp to have you as a speaker. And every month they were like, "Hey Krishna, I recommended this speaker 3 months ago. You know, why is she not speaking? Why is she not speaking?" And I was like, "Oh yeah. Next month, I promise. Next month." So I've been messaged by people for the past 3 months. So let's talk about you for a second. So where are you from? So people understand, you know, where are you coming from? Where are you from?
Yeah, so if Pak DENIEK talking about the local people, so I'm the very local of Klechung.
Local. So you're from Kluchung, right? That's your village.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Klechung, and then for a while I was living Klechung to Surabaya for like 20 years, and then going back
Kluchung.
here, yes, for working. I had my city life before, but deciding to go back to Klechung again, and yay, now I fight for Klechung.
So what were you doing when you were going outside of Kluchung? What was your job?
So I was a teacher for 20 years before. So I thought I had a.
Was it good life? Happy life?
No, it was a good life. I work in international school, and then my position is quite high. I guess I got a well paid before, so living in also a nice residential. But then I think the nature called me back to Klechung. So in 2012, I just realized that I found out 85% of the land in my village, especially in the coastal area, is not belong to us anymore, but to the international investors. So yeah, it was I think it's sad fact, because before that I experienced a time when I saw in my eyes how a secluded area near to my place actually that because of there is a big resort, then the local people cannot, the local children cannot play in front of the beach anymore, because they said that it's the exclusive or private area of the hotel, of the resort. So I don't want that happen in Klechong. I don't want to see my kids experience that in Klechong.
Not to shame the international investors, because you know not everybody is a bad investor. For example, if 𝗦𝗃𝗥 came over and invested some land near Klechong, I think everybody will be happy. But what kind of companies were they? More environmental companies investing, or was it just resorts, nothing to do with Bali's cultural environment? Is that the reason that was so bad?
Yeah, because in fact there are three big resorts here in Klechong, and two of them, I think, they just built an ugly constructions, and they don't involving the local people and talking with the local people. They just like exclusive, and I don't want that happening more and more. So we don't have our spaces anymore here in the village. I know, money rules that, but in some way, we as a local people should have a voice also to protect our land.
So it was 2012. I think you quit your job as a teacher. You went to Klechong and you were like, okay, everybody, you follow me. We're gonna fight this. And everybody was like, yeah, let's all follow 𝗦𝗃𝗦𝗥 Kayu. Is that what happened?
Oh, of course no. My people here call me a crazy lady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because at the beginning, back to 2012 to 2015, when the tourism is really high here, my people here in Klechong only thinking, when you do tourism, you have to have a luxury place. There is no way people will come and experience the modest or the traditional or the authentic, the genuine Balinese people, or staying with the community. So bit by bit, I started with only 3 families at the beginning. Those 3 families are believing with my vision that we can do the tourism which is friendly to the community, friendly to the nature also. So this is not easy job, because one, it's a gender still, it's Bali is still a gender. A woman will not lead in front, stay in front, sit in front with the bapak, so getting the
very
trust.
patriarchal. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's really cultural. So the first one, that how can I get the trust from the community? That's I think it took me until now. I think the hardest, I think, 2 years that I need to convince them that I have a good vision. Wow. Yeah, 2 years. And then the second one, they cannot kind of imagine how foreigner want to join or want to be in the community and get experience and learning together with the community. So taking that trust is taking a long time.
Is that because I saw on the website of the Klechong project, there was a Canada team. Is that when Canadians came and helped you? Like why Canadians? What was the story there? There was Canadians just flew from Canada to Bali and they were like, we want to help you. What was the story there?
Yeah, so actually the Canadians was here being our guests before, so coming here back and forth for twice. And then during this pandemic, then they asked me, 𝗦𝗃𝗦𝗥, this is we know that's very difficult for you, for the community in Klechong, because no one will come because of the flight and everything. So do you think anything that we can support you? And at this moment, I think we started on March, that we are also facing the fact that the farmer had a difficult time with their harvest, and many people coming back to the village from the Canggu, from from Kuta and from the city, and they don't know what to do. So when we asked them to go back to help the parents doing in the rice field, they just found out that they don't have enough energy to help the parents.
Because it's
So,
much easier to serve cocktails than to shovel all day, or
yeah, exactly. So we are thinking, okay, they need to survive, they need to do something, and then that's why we came with the hydroponic system. So that's another bridging that the people can still doing something. They can have a vegetable, they can sell it, they can do something with that, because their background is making salad. Krishna, they work
Right.
in a city making salads and juices and everything. So now they can plan it, they can provide the materials themselves, and then they can do it. And hopefully soon we can launch the new juice and salads from Klechung. So that's
what's the situation now in Klochong? Is the energy optimistic, or they're just trying to survive like everybody else?
yes. I can say that, yeah, we all trying to survive, but there is hope because we are doing something. I believe that a process will not be dismissed like that. There must be a result from a good process that we have done so far. So as a community, we still hold together, hands in hands. We believe that we can survive in somehow. Probably it's this challenges time will give us opportunity to be a new Klechung face in the future, when everything going back as normal, I think. Well, it won't be normal, but
yes,
yeah.
let's
When
talk
it
about
opens.
the future of Klochong. So now you're in this webinar, and there's multiple communities who are joined today.
Yeah.
What can the community do for the Klochong project? Because we have the big winner community, we have now the plant source community. How can we help you, or how can we help your community?
Easy, just come to Klechong and be part of us.
Okay, fine. But what's in Klechong right now that they can do right now? Can they go out there and sleep at your place? What are you offering?
Yeah, we have 9 homestays right now. Stay with us. Go to the rice field. Go to the beach. Go to the river, and then make a boreh, the scrub with the women, and cook with us and eat with us. And then you can learn how to pray with the people here in Klechung, because we have a special way. And then you can learn the history of Klechung, which is really connected with the old days of kingdoms and the Majapahit thing. So many some historical sites here, and you can help with our dog shelters. You can help with the turtle conservation. So many things can do here, Klechung.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's not only you learn from us, but we can learn from you also. For example, like what Pak DENIEK said about the plants, there's so many plants. We can explore more about our plants here in Klechung. Because, for example, like the word of Klechung is derived from a name of a tree. I think it's also an ancient tree. I think we don't really see it in Bali.
Maybe you're gonna have to invite DENIEK and his family or his team to come to Klechung as an honored guest to take photos there, and enjoy
take a
the
look
scenery.
take a look of the Klechung, because it's not easy to replant it again. Klechung tree is just kind of a specific tree that is not easy to grow again, because we try to do that, but it's not working. And then there is also a history from the old days. So when the people want to make the if the keris or pedang, the place of that,
the knife, like
the
this kind of knife, right?
Yeah, and then they need to put it inside with the wood. How can you kind of the cover or the place for that?
The sheep.
Yeah. So the Klechung.
Do you have any picture of the Klechung tree, Ani?
No.
You can send it to me, and then I'll try to identify with my friend in Bogor Botanic Garden.
There you go. You can test it out.
Perfect.
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
perfect.
Anik, thank you
Perfect,
very
Mama.
much for sharing
Yes.
the touching project. And this is why we
Yeah.
have this webinar, to connect and collaborate. And
Yes.
now to our final speaker, Dr. Bayu. That's right, he's an actual doctor of animals. Thank you very much for being part of this webinar. Dr. Bayu, I don't know if you know this, but you were recommended from my good friends Norm and Linda from Sarin Buana Lodge. I don't know if you know them. They talk very highly about you because they know, and they don't recommend everybody, they know that what you've been doing for so long is so impactful. So Dr. Bayu, thank you for being a speaker. Hello, how are you?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Om Swastiastu.
Also, yes, too. Thank you for being part of this webinar. So Dr. Bayu started the Friends of National Park Foundation since 1997. I was a little baby by then. I was 5 years old. And you've been doing it this whole time. I mean, that's just persistence, crazy persistence. Do you want to share a bit about your background, you know, who you were before FNPF? So people here know a bit more about you.
Okay, thank you. I'm a vet by education. I came from Tamarana, Bali. Before I set up this organization, I worked for many different kind of places. My first job was I practiced as a vet. As you know, everybody when graduate from vet school, they dream to be a practitioner to start with. But at that time, we found reality. No one really appreciate our, our expertise. It's almost no money in there. It's more like just a hobby. So then I was invited to work for Bali Bird Park before it started. So I worked there as a vet. And then I set up all the system for the health, and also managing the bird department for like 2.5 years. And then I worked for a travel agency somehow. It's not a common background as a vet working in a travel agency, but the travel agency has very, very special tour product. It's mostly for culture and wildlife expedition. So we only go to a remote destination where not many tourists go. Some tourists even has as a guarantee there will be no tourists aside from their group or their couple, something like that.
Right.
And then with this company in 1997, we have the bad fire incident in Borneo that make one of our bestseller kind of tour program to visit orangutan cannot be operated. So the company usually when we have any tour operation, we always give some percentage of our cost of the tour program to the destination where we go, either as a village, as a cultural tour, or at a national park where we do our wildlife expedition. So normally we take about 5% of the tour price, and then we ask the destination area what they need before we go. Beside that, we usually also encourage our guests to donate more if whatever we get from that 5% cut is not enough for what the destination expected. Then being a vet, a working travel agency has a special tour program for wildlife expedition. Very, very good match. It's not a happy thing to have, but that time the park did not have any vet working with the orangutan rehab center in the park. So I spent like 5 months in the park to be a volunteer to observe the impact of orangutan from this fire incident.
By the way, how are the orangutans? There was when I was younger, it was all about SOS, Save Orangutan
Sumatran Orangutan Society.
There you go. But
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything. Maybe because now with social media, the information that you see is very specific to what you want to see. But how are the orangutans doing? You know, how are our less developed cousins? Can we say that?
In Borneo, they are not as bad as in Sumatra. At least they still have a lot of habitat. We have more than, I think in Borneo, we have at least 4 orangutan, 4 national park that dedicated for orangutan and some wildlife reserve. And Tanjung Puteh National Park, where we are working mostly, is the biggest national park and the biggest habitat for orangutan that had the biggest number of orangutan in the wild. So
So we're okay then. So the orangutans are safe. Is the problem finished? Can we?
No, not really. All the big animal, especially primate, the biggest threat is not the poaching, but it's very much about the habitat loss. And I think in Sumatra, same like in Borneo, orangutan is the key species for the rainforest. Means if they are disappear from the ecosystem, a lot of other species, whether flora or fauna, will be affected. So these orangutan have very, very important role for the whole ecosystem. That is why whenever now we find orangutan in a forest, usually the government start to have protection. And also whenever any company get a land concession for any other purpose like mining or timber and other purpose, they must make their environment assessment to make sure there is no orangutan, there's no pigtail macaque and other different species. But businessmen do not want to lose money.
How effective is that? Because I mean, okay, I don't want to say anything bad, but Indonesians are known for our corruption. It's the way we live. So how real is the checkups? You know, it's like the people come.
I just try to continue that. The businessmen do not want to lose their money. They always find a way to make sure when there's a assessor from the central government come, they make sure there's none of that species exists. So
no, that's not an orangutan. That's a human in an orangutan costume. You know.
Yeah, that's, we have one case. We got the person who confessed it that they are the one was assigned to kill some of the orangutan in order this palm oil company can set up or can start their plantation. We did a report, and then there's not really significant action been done. We have shown all the graveyard kind of thing where the poacher or the hunter bury the body. As the person who did not see the action, we will not able to point all the graveyard or the orangutan without being told by the person who did it. So it's not really seriously being investigated. And as you know, this palm oil company get very, very good support from central government because our government has ambition, want to be #1 CPO exporter and try to beat Malaysia. Malaysia compared to us, teeny little country, but they produce more CPO than Indonesia. I think that's the cause why not much significant work that been done to avoid any illegal action from the palm oil company. And as you know, every single year we have fire in Borneo. There's a big documentary about fire season. So it was on an airplane on many different places. Can you hear me? It says my internet not stable.
No, it's good. Okay. It's just I'm thinking like, wow, I'm so sad. I'm so depressed in a way. I mean, humans always will take care of humans first. That's just the reality of the fact. When there's an animal or a human in danger, you save the human first.
Yeah.
But maybe after 23 years, you have to kind of live with it, because this is probably a daily occurrence where you hear stories of people killing certain animals so that the government doesn't say, oh, you cannot do business here. In a way, it's a genocide. You're murdering animals so you can do business. I mean, how do you continue doing what you do? What is the reason that you continue? What
When I decided to set up this organization, when I was working also at the travel agency, sometime I become a tour guide for VIP guests because they feel more secure to travel with somebody who has a medical background, even not for human. At least I'm much better than any dukun for the Western perception. Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of time I have a chat with the guests, and a lot of them has impression that Indonesians do not care about the wildlife, Indonesians do not care about the environment. And in reality, that the reason why not many Indonesian join this kind of activity, because if you work for Indonesian NGO, including if you are working for us, we don't have a high salary standard. We have very high risk being enemy of people who did illegal thing, who make so much money. And then also we are not popular usually among the local community, because a lot of time conservation work means make people has more obstacle to make money. So that's one thing. And then the other hand, if you hear from the other side from local people why they sometimes did their illegal action, it's just simply because they do not know how to make money in the way they grown up. Like if they
So
only
let's talk a bit about some good news, because I think our last topic was orangutans. I was feeling really sad, but obviously you would not be a speaker, you would not be doing this if there was not some good news. Let's talk about some good news, which is the Bali starling.
okay.
And let's talk a bit about the other projects that you have in Nusa Penida, in Borneo, the kind of center that has been created. But first thing first, the Bali starling. The last time I heard about the Bali starling, I was in primary school. It was a big hoo-ha. All the parents of children were like, we gotta save the Bali starling, save the Bali starling. And now as an adult, I don't know what happened to the Bali starling. Is it saved? I heard it was the second most endangered species or in the world. Is that true? Is that how serious it came to be, that it was so endangered that we almost lost the Bali starling?
It's if our government want to be honest, the definition of extinction is about in the wild. It's not in the captivity. There are thousands of them in captivity, but none in the native habitat. So that's why when I have a dream to have this conservation, since I was working for Bali Bird Park, I was the first one who bred this Bali starling in a bird park back in 1993, 1994. So, but as you know, the park is not a conservation institution. They have not much intention how to focus on this species breeding. Until today, Bali Bird Park never involved in any of Bali starling release anywhere that I know. Probably they have done, but there's no publicity that I can use as a evidence. So I asked around to all rich people that I know. I'm consulting for environmental as a environmental consultant and hotels, also still practicing while I was working for the park and working travel agency. But it's so hard to find people who believe in this idea, especially this idea is not money making. Yeah, it's all losing money.
Yeah, but actually that's a good point, because I would say compared to many other foundations, the Friends of National Parks has a strong support base. If you look at, I mean, I don't know if this is still ongoing now, but I'm a big fan of Temper Trap, which is a band, and the lead singer was one of the first supporters of FNPF. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And also, I saw that FNPF, when you donate to FNPF, if you're Australian, it's tax deductible. Now, that's amazing, because there's a lot of foundations everywhere who are struggling to find donations. And here we have FNPF, who's become so important in the eyes of the expat community that the government of the foreign countries are supporting it. And the second thing is for the volunteering schemes. So often you hear of a nonprofit about volunteering is so hard, it's so hard to get the papers. And if you go to the FNPF website, it seems it's so straightforward. If you help FNPF and you want to be a volunteer, it is possible. And this is not really possible in many other foundations. They don't know how to do it, or don't have enough support. So what can you say was the reason for this kind of professionalism in your foundation?
Okay, thank you. For the funding, we have been supported by Australian Human Society International. I think it's more than 22 years at the moment. Normally, funding organization only fund any local NGO no more than 3 to 4 years, even how good they work. But I think the rule of NGO, you are grow or you are disappear. So I choose to grow. That means you must have a new thing to do every year in order to get support from the same donor. So donor rely on their member to make money, who donate money, kind of membership fee. If they hear the same thing all the time, I think they will get bored. So first thing, we must be creative, and we must spend the money according to what we propose the money for. And for that, the Temper Trap lead singer, he is the son of the owner of travel agency where I used to work. So he supports us. I know him since he was little.
Okay, wow. I mean, that's a great like something to put in your pocket.
Yeah. So he's still, I still in contact with him anytime I went, and when I have a chance, if he come to Bali, we always meet, and I go to Australia, I met him there. So it's not only because of that a long-term history, but he's still really keen to support us, to help us to promote this organization. And I think one of the key for that to maintain the donor happiness, keep supporting us, is about the openness, what you do, how you spend money. And our organization very slim in administration. Everyone who work in this organization must able to do multitasking job.
Right.
So as a director, I a lot of time also become a driver, become a tour guide to run an eco tours.
But that's a great message, Dr. Bayu. That's a great message, because there's a lot of my friends who are in foundations, or they're struggling to keep their foundation alive. And what you mentioned, what you shared is very simple. Keep it transparent, keep it active, growing. If you're asking the donors for the same thing every year, and your project is the same every year, it can seem boring. You have to innovate. So before we end for our introduction to Dr. Bayu, is there one thing you want to share, or one thing you want to ask from the audience today, the people who are going to be listening to this webinar? What is one key takeaway that you want people to do?
Thank you. If we able to get support, we are very bad on PR side. We have done so many things, but not many people know what we are doing. So that will be a big help for us. Luckily now with this social media, this really can speed up our PR side, even how simple we do it, as long as we have a nice picture and two sentence, one or two sentences already can give us a good promotion. But the best people who had experience interact with us. A lot of time our volunteers who've been working with us, also helping us for long term, either they becoming a donor or some of them keep volunteering when they already left the working side. So it's that our biggest help that we need from now. I do not say the financial is not important. If we are doing a good thing, the money will follow.
Right. If you're doing a good thing, the money will follow. And there you go. If, let's say, you have a friend who's good with social media, maybe reach out to Dr. Bayu, at FNPF. Maybe they have a potential volunteering slot for you. There you go. Especially nowadays, like Dr. Bayu says, money is important, but sometimes what you can offer is your skill and your time, and that's good enough just to help the project. All right, the first hour is done. There you go. You got to know a little bit more about our speakers. Wow, that was a quick 1 hour for me, because I'll be honest, sometimes I feel that one speaker could take the whole webinar and we'll have enough content to go forth. So let's first thank you for all the speakers for your introduction, to share about what you guys are doing. And let's kickstart this by having a discussion with the audience as well as the speakers, to talk about some common themes that have been happening, especially with this year, the year of COVID. And so please message me if you have any questions, and I can ask the speakers. But I will go first, because I've been dying to ask this, is, what's been happening for you right now, especially for the end of the year? Do you have any plans for the end of the year? Please go ahead. Who wants to speak first from the panelists?
Maybe we just same order.
Sure, sure. It's a discussion. I'm just curious, you know, what's people having planned for the end of the year, especially during, you know, COVID times. What does the person who's been working in a foundation for 23 years going to be doing for New Year's? What is the community organizer for coaching project going to do? And what is the photographer for 43 years is going to do for New Year's? Please, just so curious.
Well, thank you. And obviously, we're not going to do anything.
Oh,
With all that tasks that you need to do, and then also you go around with a mask, I think I will just stay home and work on the computer, and then try to do my best to edit, to correct our website, to enrich the content. And that's what I do every day. So hopefully, whoever visit our website will get a better service, better content, and far richer content. So we add new things in there. So hopefully, will be more useful for everybody.
All right. All right. I mean, fair enough. I mean, you know, sometimes we don't want to do anything on New Year's. What about Anik? What are you doing for New Year's?
Yeah, so it's a documentary film happening right now here in 𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗦.
Wow. Okay.
So hopefully it will be a premiere at the end of 2021. Wow. So the title is Segara Gunung, because you can see the Segara is the ocean and Gunung is the gunung. So because when you are in 𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗦, you can both see the mountain and also the sea. So there is a documentary film happening. Yeah, so I'm the producer, helping the the project we are doing with another Canadian guy. Yeah, he has been a director too for many years, so working with us right now, telling the story more about 𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗦 and the people here. So that's we are doing for the.
You have very strong connection with Canadians. It's very good. It's good. What about you, Dr. Bayu? What are you doing for New Year's?
I stay home most of the time since last month. So I'm becoming a remote control for my staff. This end of the year, we try to finish our first big planting for 1.5 million trees for this year in Tanjung Putih National Park. Hopefully, we have a good success with that. And the donor will continue the contract for us to finish that 10 million trees in 5 years.
10 million trees. Wow.
Yeah. It just launched yesterday with Minister of Investment, Marine Investment, yesterday with AstraZeneca. So
where's the project located?
In Tanjung Putih National Park, Central Borneo.
Central Borneo. Wow, 10 million trees. Oh, that's some good news. You know, during COVID, people are like, oh, nothing's happening. And here you have 10 million trees.
Very hard to find worker.
Yeah, really?
Because they need to have a rapid test to go to the park. And at the areas, they call it, it's not even red zone, it's a black zone, because there is no hospital. In a hospital, more than 600 people cannot hospitalize in that area because so many of them are infected, and people are afraid to be tested and get positive result. That means they cannot make money. So I need at least 300 people to work now, and they have 140 people.
Yeah, I was thinking, what would be the challenge? Because especially during these times, so many people are looking for jobs. So okay, it's the black zone. Wow. Okay, that's
there's no black zone category, but they call it black zone because it's open and red.
Wow. Okay. From the audience, any questions? Come on, you've had all this time to think about something to ask that, or maybe you have an obstacle that you want to need some advice. Does anybody come from a nonprofit who's joined? Don't be shy. Go ahead. I'm going to ask the next question. So this year has been a crazy year for COVID, of course. Has there been, 1 second. Not COVID, just a dry throat. Has there been any companies that have been helping you this year for that you want to mention as a thank you? Any companies that have been doing some good stuff?
Oh, who answered first?
Well, I'm looking at the screen. It can be who wants to speak first, because maybe someone doesn't have a company that supported them. I'm looking at Dr. Bayu. Do you have any companies you want to say a thank you for this year? It is going to be the last webinar of this 2020, and we do want to you want to have good thoughts for the year. Any people or any companies you want to talk about that have been doing really good things, just like FNPF?
Yeah, AstraZeneca will save our life. Without their support, we must shut down the whole organization.
Oh, Asana Vibeka.
AstraZeneca, yeah, the biggest pharmaceutical company in Indonesia.
Okay, well, good. What about you, Anekayu?
Yeah, I would like to mention WIA, Women Earth Alliance. So with the sisterhood we have here in Indonesia and worldwide, I gotta support financially and also mentally, psychology that make the project going here in Klechong. And I would like to mention Kathy and Gerald also from Canada, because supporting me a lot with the current Klechong project that we are doing. So they have been doing such amazing job in this very special situations. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also Stephen Coleman for for doing the movie here in Klechong. So yeah, it's another new things. It's interesting, very interesting for all of us here in the community. Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about, because of course everything is revolving around COVID. I mentioned COVID 3 times in the past 3 sentences. There's always an argument about who's responsible to do what. There's always three categories: the individual, the companies, and the government. Now, based on your experience, you've been working with all three categories. Like, for example, Anika, you've also worked with the government, the Consulate General of Indonesia in Canada, so they give you the support. You've also worked with individuals who are coming to the coaching project to help, and of course with companies who are maybe buying your goods from the coaching project. And I'm sure this is the same from 𝗦𝗣𝗘𝗥𝗦, who obviously has the First Lady's support and the President SBY. So, and Dr. Bayu, of course. So where do you see the solution coming from? Who has to act first? Who is the most responsible right now? And please take turns. I will start with 𝗦𝗣𝗥𝗦. Who is most responsible right now to recover from COVID?
Ooh, that is a very difficult question to answer. But I think the individual takes responsibility for his own or her own safety first. That will help other people also. But as providing medication, prevention, and all these things, I think the government will have to do that. Like the vaccine, for a while, the pricing, policy, and all kind of thing was so confusing until Pak Joko Widodo said the vaccine will be free for all. But that means you just have to wait your turn.
What do you think about the recent news that from today until 4 January, you have to have a swab test to fly domestically? Do you agree with that, or where are you on that? Because previously it was only a rapid test, right? They prick your finger and then there you can fly. But now it's a swab test. Do you agree with that? What's your position on that?
That is a very difficult question for me because it doesn't involve me personally, because I don't have plan to travel. But I guess for a lot of people it's very difficult, because they say they have to be 2 days prior the departure. But they say the test takes 3 days to get the result. So how do you supposed to do that? And also the cost, and it's quite high. So I think it's in this situation, economic situation, where everybody do not have work, except the government employees. They still have their full salary.
Right.
For us in the private sectors, I think most of us don't have salary, especially in my position. I never earn a salary. I pay salaries. That's my problem. So no, and then there's nothing to earn. I mean, it's this year is practically in our business of publication, promotion, design is almost non-existent, just like in the tourism industry.
Right.
So it's very difficult, but salaries must go on.
And Dr. Bayu, how do you feel that most of your supporters are not from the Indonesian government, or but mostly from the expat community? I mean, of course, the lead singer Dogi, he's a supporter and he's local. But if you go to your website, of course, the FNPF website, most of the supporters come from overseas. Like, how do you feel as an Indonesian, or as a fighter for the environment?
I think I can understand why very little organization, donor or private donor support conservation work, because we have so many problems with humans. So humanitarian NGO will much easier to raise money in Indonesia. I tried several times to raise money in Indonesia. It's never really get any significant result. The reason maybe in a Western country support us, for example, like this tree planting, they in their own country they don't have any space for them to plant. Especially if the big company want to show their carbon neutral kind of scheme. So Indonesia, especially in Borneo on the wetland, is the best place for them to make the company becoming carbon neutral. So conservation is not the first priority for Indonesian donors, mostly for humanitarian. There are big money for conservation, but mostly for greenwash, and we would rather close down our organization than take money for greenwash.
Do you want to explain a bit about greenwashing? Because maybe not everybody understands the concept of greenwashing. Or do you have an example? Share a story about greenwashing.
I do not want to tell the name of the company. That one I'm going to be sued. It's not important for me to go to jail. I've been to jail one time because somebody made a false report.
Wow. Wow.
There's a lot of companies, they have done so many bad things to the environment. And because of that, they have so many attacks from the green kind of warrior, what we call people who are doing that for PR, or also NGO who do a lot of campaign like green, what do you call it? There's a big NGO, a lot of time they do that, including one of our supporters called Rainforest Action Network. So this company, like watching all of those big companies who did bad natural image, then to put that better publicity for better image for their company, those companies set a budget to do this kind of work, like give donation to NGO who's doing conservation. So I have seen some NGO because they desperately need money, and I can understand whether they close the organization or they continue with their greenwash. But for me, it's still like a prostitute for me if I take the greenwash money.
Right. It's always a tough decision. I mean, obviously, for somebody who's been doing it for 23 years, you must have seen all kinds of schemes, and maybe bad companies. They'd be like, okay, if we help you with this, can you tell the world that we're doing good things, that our company is a good company? It's I don't know. Anik, have you ever experienced that? Yes.
Krishna. Okay.
Yes, Lulu.
Okay, I'm Lulu. It's been interesting listening from the incredible speakers. It's been an hour. What I'm going to say is not representing Sokvindo. It's just individual, personal. It's me, Lulu. I'm just trying to explain, not explain. I think what I'm going to say actually is towards Pak Bayu. My background is palm oil. I work for oil palm company before I got married, and then my husband also working now. Now we're working for oil palm company, and then what I'm trying to say, I have to repeat and stress this. This is my personal view, not representing any company or any organization.
But this is good. This is good. Bululu,
Okay.
please talk
Yeah,
more,
I
because this
don't
is
want
why
this
we're just
to
having
be-
a conversation. This is
Yeah.
please go on. Please go on.
Yeah, okay.
Don't feel scared or anything. You got it. You got it.
Okay. I don't want this to be blown up in the paper or something. Anyway, so
Guys, just be mindful.
all this time,
We are
all
live on
this
Facebook.
time,
Lulu. Just be
yeah.
mindful of that.
all this time, oil palm industry has such a bad press, such a bad press. I can see your expression, Pak Krishna. You call that killing this monkey is genocide. I'm sad also. I'm sad also. And also about the fire, the forest fire caused by the oil palm company. I'm also sad to hear that. I was in the middle of that fire in Kalimantan because at that time, I and my husband was working in central Kalimantan. And anyway, what I'm trying to say here, if possible, it is good not to generalize all oil palm company, because where I worked in oil palm company from 91 until 98, so it's a long time ago. Even then, we have policy zero burning. So that was some years ago. And we are scared. We are so disciplined. I was working for a foreign company, that burning. And then never big company will do burning. What I found out by you is the small holders start burning. You will see in that fire in the, I think that back few years, like 3 years, very bad apa ya, titik bakar api sebenarnya. Yeah, it's holders. And unfortunately, this is happening. This fire was spread to big company, and the company suffered the consequences. They didn't burn. It's from the neighboring smallholders who obviously it's very expensive to do zero burning. Very expensive. Only big company can do. And the big company suffer. They get fined. Their plantation also get burned. And this is just one side of story, okay? I want some people also listen to our side of story. We get such a bad press. I go back to the UK twice a year, and a big company, Iceland, actually banned palm oil because of a bad press, because we killed the orangutan.
Right.
Zero. So people are so scared to say this is oil palm. They just say vegetable oil. Okay, so big company do not do zero burning. Sorry, I have some point. Another one is everyone working, we have RSPO. They are just like hawk, the eyes always watching. Another one is greenwashing. So what I'm doing actually, we are a bunch of ladies, bunch of wives. We are trying to do a conservation, which is to conserve the plants, medicinal plants, in order to report for GRI. This is, okay, so we have an initiative. I was warned, be careful in case some people will closing. Very real hard work. All we do, nothing for greenwash.
First, I want to say thank you so much, because this is a rare opportunity where we have people from different positions, right? And it is, I can agree with that. Of course, there are some industries that have usually a harder time to be in the good light than in the bad light. It's especially, for example, oil and gas or military. These are all industries who make it very hard. And for example, you're right, palm oil is always is a big one, right? Um, and of course, not to say that all palm oil companies are bad, or even if a company does one bad thing during one time, it doesn't mean they do bad things all the time, and vice versa. And I think that's the best part about growing up, is that you realize nothing is black or white, everything is gray. Everything is depending on the situation. Yeah. So I think, it's only fair. So to have the side of the palm oil side, and you have Dr. Bayu from the conservation side. Perhaps from Dr. Bayu, if you could share a good example that maybe that companies can do. If not, maybe the company that Buluk was working with, maybe for other companies. Do you have any advice for them? How to stop the bitterness between the two parties? Do you have any advice? Do you have maybe a good example of a company who did something good?
In real life, it's always bad and good. It's not all bad, all good. Yeah. We have been in a situation that we give information is not under my organization umbrella. Some of our staff involved with that investigation. There were several small holding company in Central Borneo, like they are all illegal thing. They are related with military people. They are related with the local government, so on. And from our point of view, there's no way for people doing this if they don't have any buyer right now, because all European country, which is the biggest buyer for this palm oil from Indonesia, already have very, very strict policy. If you do not do a good practice, we will not buy your product. So we investigate why these companies still doing this bad practice, and how they can make their money and where their money came from. So it turned out that small company, it has a kind of bigger company above them, not by Indonesian legal. So they has their office in Singapore. And then even the office in Singapore do not send the money, but the investigator, our international investigator colleagues, found out that the money came from Japan, a bank from Japan. Then if we tell Indonesian government to fix this problem, they will not really care much about that, because some of them, I do not say the government, but the government officer involved with this case. So in order to stop the case, I mean the bad practice, so this international NGO give a pressure to the money source, so to the bank in Japan. So the bank do not want to lose their good reputation just because of this tiny little business they have in Indonesia. So they give a pressure to this Indonesian company who are on paper to do a breakfast practice. So another good example how small group of people can stop very, very bad action being done by big giant company that make impression. Even our own whole government cannot stop them. So the case was in Sumatra, this company producing pepper. Somehow the Disney is like the biggest buyer from those. So 70% of the pepper they produce was bought by Disney. So there's a lot of environmental expert try to suggest this company to fix their practice, to make it better for environment, better for the people, and so on. But because they do not think they will be caught by law, they do not do anything. Then these people investigate who is the buyer, and they give bad pressure to the buyer. So only 3 people involved in those operations. 3 people can give a pressure to Disney, and they said, Disney, you sell this many books for kids, but where your paper came from this very bad practice of a paper company. So then that it was a big discussion on TV, including our industrial minister, our finance minister, our minister of foreign affairs, have that discussion on TV about this Disney. But we knew who did it, only 3 people who make this government really have a problem, because Disney bought 70% of total product of Indonesian paper. So if Disney not buy, where we will sell 70% of the product, and we don't have that much storage to keep it until find a new buyer.
I mean, that's a very good point. You know, no answer is 100% correct. Like you said, suddenly the palm oil was banned in Europe, and you have all this palm oil that you need to sell to pay for your employees, to pay for your business. And for example, in Dr. Bayu's case, it was for paper. You know, so when you try to stop something very extreme, then there's always a reaction to that action. It happens. Yes, Dr. Nick, do you have a input for that?
I can interject a little bit on that one for the paper, because I published this book for the UNFCCC meeting in Nusa Dua in 2009. Yeah, was it 2011? I think 2009. So I got involved quite deeply with all the industrial forests, you know, in Sumatra, especially the 2 biggest operators. Yeah,
right.
There are always 2 sides of the stories. If you talk to the environmentalists, Walhi and all these things, they cannot even make their data correct. You know, like they saying 160 million hectares of our forest is destroyed. These are all the forests that we have, 160 million. So I don't know if we destroy 160 million hectares, and then that means there's no forest in Indonesia left, because that's all we have. So, but the problem is there are always 2 sides of the stories. And then I went there. Most of the land that they used to develop the acacia forest for producing pulp, actually forests that are already destroyed by the previous logging industries.
Okay.
Because those are like growing in the marsh, you know, in the peatland and all these things. You know, if you just leave that alone, it's not going to grow, even in 500,000 years. Because the land in South Sumatra, I went to all these areas. They planted trees in there. There's one of the Japanese companies that held the concession. In 15 years, a Soria tree, which is a Meranti tree, it only grows to the arm size in 15 years. And then if the wildfires caught it again, it is dead. So it's not that simple to rejuvenate or to regrow the trees in the peatland. So a lot of the big problem in the past was the logging industries. Yeah, they cut, and then after that, when the palm oil was beginning, a lot of these local bupati and governor gave permits to people to open plantation. But what they actually do is, a lot of them, actually they just sell the trees, whatever left over. 30 cm or bigger, they cut, they sell it, and they disappear. They don't do anything. This is the biggest problem. Mungkin Pak Bayu, Dr. Bayu juga tahu itu, banyak terjadi seperti itu. Saya juga di Kalimantan. Yeah, I was in Kalimantan also, in the what's called coal mine and all these things. It's a lot of them I've seen, not really doing all recreation or also forestation, like in Seram Island. I went there also when they just cutting in the peak of when they're cutting all the forests in there. That was in early 90s. And they logged the island from north to south. And then they're supposed to plant new trees. And then maybe they planted trees maybe about 50, 100 meters from the logging road, because they know who's going to check.
That is so sad. That's crazy sad.
That is what's happening, because I went to a lot of logging companies because I was a photographer. So I was hired to photograph the logging company. So I observe everything in there, How do they do that? It's not really true. You know, they cannot. I mean, who's going to go to the forest to check that you plant actually that many trees? It's like the acacia that I went to, like in Riau and all these things. I've seen a lot of the land that they're going to develop actually is already destroyed before that. And even in the middle of the Giam Siak, ya, mungkin Dr. Bayu also know the Giam Siak forest reserve in there. Even people logging in the middle of the forest. And somebody obviously paying for them. But it's not the concession owner because they are already give that back to the government.
Is that called like illegal logging? They're illegally cutting down trees.
Yeah,
Okay.
they are. I don't know. It seems to be quite organized because they have like 20 huts in the middle of the forest,
Mm.
and then you can only find out and see that from the helicopter.
Wow.
So that is really selecting trees that are the big one for commercial purposes. And in that pitland or swampland, trees do not grow that fast.
Hmm.
Like in
Well,
South,
yes, the topics that we're talking about, they're very national based. I mean, this is of course for the fact that Dr. Bayu and DENIEK has been doing this for a very long time. We've traveled many places. Obviously, let's pull it back to Bali a bit for a second because you know, we're not here to change all of Indonesia. I don't think we have the power to do that. Let's go back.
We
I'm
talk
gonna give it.
the deforestation of Bali.
Yes, let's talk about Bali for a second because of course you gotta think local for a second.
Yeah.
What is actually before we jump into that, before deforestation in Bali, I want to give Anika you a little bit of time to speak because we were talking about the conflict between government and company. I'm just curious, Anik, have you have any experience like that in Keluchung? Any kind of gray area conflict with your project?
Yeah, for sure. So I just celebrated the new communication for me with my head of the village because for a long time, since 2015, 5 years ago, we didn't really can talk. We didn't talk each other because he's the one who gave the permission to sell the land, even with the with the dirty ways. There are some double letters about the land and such thing because he wanted to get the how the 20% from the selling of the land. And then just last month because the Jakarta government came here to Keluchung and then supporting the tourism project that we had here, and then it opens the door that we can talk. I can talk to the head of the.
It would have been so interesting to have the head of the village here on the webinar, so we can have a kind of conversation and like for and against. But how is it? What happened that now you're talking together? What was the reason? Was that the reason because the ministry came to see?
Yeah. So the result of the discussion with the head of the village now, he agrees finally to support the ecotourism project. So before he was only thinking about the mass tourism, the normal tourism that he wanted to be here, but because the Jakarta government want to have the CHSE, the government launch here,
yes.
that the last one E is for the environment. So then
yes,
he kind of having opportunity to have a good reputation in front of the government. So he kind of supporting the project right now.
Okay.
So yeah, it was not an easy struggle for me because on his side he needs the money because when he wanted to be the leader of the village, he needed to spend quite a lot of money to be the leader.
Oh,
Yeah,
is that
so
right? I didn't know about
yeah,
that.
so
You had to pay money to be
yeah,
the leader.
he
Okay.
need, yeah he needed to, yeah, to kind of to give money to the supporters
Mm,
so people can, yeah, vote him,
right.
kind of that.
Okay. Well,
So
I'm
from
glad to know that the head of the village is actually, that's a pretty nice story compared to the last deforestation story. But yes, Denik, you were talking about deforestation in Bali, right? Dr. Bayu also. What's the situation for Bali? I mean, I think a few months ago I was talking to Arvin from 𝗦𝗣𝗥𝗦. I don't know if you know 𝗦𝗣𝗥𝗦, and he was saying, well, Bali compared to everywhere in Indonesia, Bali is rich. Everything is good in Bali compared to other places. Is that the case for Bali? You know, are you seeing things for the better or for worse for Bali in terms of deforestation?
Well, it's really worse. In my area in Jembrana, we don't really have that much forest here. So like people already farm the forest for about maybe between 5 to 7 kilometers inside. That was done illegally before. But very recently, I heard that governor of Bali actually giving now a kind of right to these people.
To
Like
cut the forest.
half legalize it. No, it's already cut.
Uh,
It's already cut. That is already there. They farm it already. They planted cocoa, banana, all kind of crop trees already there. So they even make a cement road inside for about 7 kilometers. They say they almost now go to Singaraja already. So we don't have that much forest in Bali. So that now I heard the last one. I heard that the governor of Bali giving the right for the people to cultivate the one that they already cut, but replanting with different trees that also guarantee water retaining quality. I don't know whether that is really the best solution. I think it is for me. It should bring back the forest, make it
absolutely.
really plant.
Maybe actually, Dr. Bayu, do you have an idea for that? How to bring back the forest? You know, because you're right now on a tree planting project. Is there anything happening for Bali specifically?
To be honest, it's very hard to find a land that we can plant in Bali according to Dinas Kehutanan or KSDA, because all protected areas still more or less has a good kind of forest coverage. And we should be proud about, or if we only talk about the forest coverage, amongst all highly populated islands, Bali still has about 40%. I do not know who made the rule about the minimum forest cover in one island is supposed to be at least 30%, and Bali has more than that. If you compare to Java, it's only have 13% forest coverage.
13% in Java.
Yeah, yeah. So if we include like the plantation, like for example, the Arabica coffee plantation, it looked like a forest, but it's just monoculture. So Bali is still good, but there are a big empty land that we can work with. But in a social life, for example, the best example we can use is the area at Kintamani. Yeah, there's a lot of it's called a government forest, but there's no tree there because the forest being used for agriculture or growing grass for livestock. So there one organization tried very, very hard to do that, but I think the cost becoming very expensive because you must hire somebody to look after and so on. So we cannot do really big kind of planting in the area because one thing is about fire. We like if we really think clearly, it's very obvious the people who raise cow who doing that because they need the grass. After you burn, the new grass will grow early during the early rainy season. No other people will do that.
So you're saying they're burning the forest to grow grass?
To kill all the other herb, shrub that are not edible for the cow. So it's becoming like monoculture all grass. So every end of the dry season, they will burn it. And then when the rain comes, it's a new grass growing, so they don't need to cut grass, just let their cow going. Still like what happened in Nusa Penida. Nusa Penida has less than 5% forest coverage. We did very hard way to grow trees in Nusa Penida. We already saw very good example for 3 years. The trees growing, survive, but not really big. At least the trees survive. We have shown that we can do reforestation in Nusa Penida, even the growth rate very low. But then we already make a fire break because we have experience, have seen experience with people did fire. We put the fire break outside or on the outline of our planting. Somebody just start the fire inside the planting site. So the fire came from inside. The whole thing burned down. And then I just said to my staff, we don't need to do this anymore because they do not need to improve their nature. So if the local people not support, I will not start any project.
Ah, that's crazy. Anik, has there been any deforestation in Kluchung? Was a lot of cutting down of trees also there?
Well, basically here in Kluchung we don't have forest. I never seen a forest. Just land, just rice field, and we don't really have forest here.
Okay. So
yeah.
There's no kind of like sadness. Oh, Kluchung used to be a forest and now it's all built up.
Since I was born.
Since you were born.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat box about over-tourism. So obviously the Bali Pledge is all about trying to show people that if you want to come to Bali, you want to do it in a sustainable way. Do you have any advice as the community organizer for a Kluchung project? Do you have any advice for the people living in Bali who wants to do the same project like you? Like, where are the starting points? Where would you start? And later I'll ask to DENIEK and Dr. Bayu also. But if you want to replicate the Kluchung project somewhere else in Bali, what do you suggest to people to do first? The first thing.
Yeah, my project is all about community. So how we start is give your ears to the people, give your ears to the community, what they expect and what they want for their future and what they wish for the next generation. So just like giving your ears, listen to them, and then engage with them. And then why I choose tourism, not because not because tourism is the only ways to solve the problem, but for me, for us here in Kluchung, tourism is the easiest language to be understood for the people here in the Kluchung. That's why we took the ecotourism path to start with the community and with the nature, with the culture. So if you want to start a project like Kluchung, because it's really about the community, so you get to listen to your community and what they need. And then because if you work with the community, it should be from the community itself, the idea.
Right.
Yeah, because it won't work how hard you work. It wouldn't be anything happen if the program of the project is not coming from the community itself. So it should be from the community.
And so, actually, yeah. DENIEK is also planning to start a center. I think we talked the other day, but then I forgot the place that you wanted to do a community center. What was it? Where was it in Jembrana or?
Yeah, it's in Tegal Cangkring, Jembrana. That is my Sanggar, the art center that's specially for the Jembrana special music, Jagog music.
You mentioned about making a community center for gardening also.
Yes.
Is that the same place?
In the same place, toward the mountain, about 6 kilometers from the main road of Negara Denpasar. We are building nursery center for decorative plant and also special place for edu-camping, we call that. So we will try to teach the students about nursery, about how to propagate plants. what kind of plants, why is forest important to people. You know, we will have a kind of what we call practical ecology classes where the student can learn. You know, if the bank of the rivers are devoid of any plants, during the rain, the water will just flow down and then cause banjir, and then during dry season, all totally dry very fast. But if the forests are very well kept and it's good around the river banks and then the surrounding, then you still have water for a long time. This is, I have created a special demonstration apparatus for that with 2 waterfalls. One waterfall will be full of roots of plants, and the other one will be devoid of them. So
and is the idea to make it a community center?
Yes,
or
we will involve the whole people in the village, like in the planting and in the cooking and everything, because we want to involve them. But whoever visit our place must buy food also, so that we can, whatever we produce, vegetable, fruit, whatever, we will cook with the community, whoever wants to cook. And we make coconut sugar, we make coffee, and then for people that come to our place, there will be maybe about 12 family camp with permanent family camp. It's not what you call it with cloth, you know, this one. And so people can stay there, and then we provide them with food, everything, so that we will involve the people.
I'm so happy to hear the words like ecotourism,
yeah,
you know, edu-camping. Like, this is very new, especially for Bali now, because you know the Klochung project is not that old, and the project that you have, 𝗦𝗡, is also in progress. But I'm curious to hear from Dr. Bayu, because he's been doing this for quite some time, the whole ecotourism. Do you have any advice for people who want to start their own ecotourism project or the ecotourism hub?
I think people that need the advice most is the policymaker. Like
policymakers.
Yeah, similar with the conservation issue, we need to give more advice to forestry department officer or to the local government. It's not to the community at all. I think the policymaker need to be aware and supposed to enforce the law and so on. So, for example, when we start the volunteer tourism in Nusa Penida, there was no tourists come to Penida Islands. And we already anticipated what's going to happen in Penida, because we have seen how was Lembongan developed. Yeah. Then I already presented my paper to the first Bupati that we know, that was Mr. Chandra. For the first time we there, and the second round he was in charge. He did not give any response at all, even not respond to my letter.
Wow.
And then I sent a letter to the governor of Bali that time, Bapak Dewa Brata at the time. So he invited me to present my idea about how to develop tourism in Nusa Penida. What I call that time is how to make Nusa Penida become a special tour destination with focus on conservation and culture. So it's not, we know the landscape is so beautiful there, but the landscape exploration is very much about mass tourism. Yeah. So when we make that place as a special tourist destination, the local government should set a rule what people can do, what people cannot do. If any company already established before the rule being implemented, they must make a compensation, for example, reforest the degraded land that belong to government. So in principle, the provincial government very agree with that, and then they challenge us that time. This idea is very good. Why you don't try it? Then I said honestly, we are not a company entity. We don't have money for that. And but then because they challenge us, we did our first volunteer tourism by using a local house that we rent. Very simple. We just make adaptation that to be accepted by foreign or international traveler. And then at that time, we can say any white people in the island must come from us. Even sometimes some other people come. If they get accident, automatically they will refer, this is our guest. So for about 5 years, it was running well. And then all of those people now, like I said, the social media are becoming very, very strong power for promotion. Make a lot of people start coming. So all people who set up the initial business used to work for us or come to us to learn to speak English, because it's a part of the volunteering program at that time is teaching English to local. So people who start the business earlier in Nusa Penida, they kind of graduate from our organization. Then based on that experience, the second governor, Bupati right now, also as soon as he became Bupati, I sent the same message to him. And then he's not have any response as well.
No response again, same thing.
So, and furthermore, he just let everybody to do anything. I think I can understand in a way why he let that happen, because Klong Kong is one of the most poor local government. They don't have their own income. So with this
Right.
speed up growth in Nusa Penida, it's way too fast, but in a way the government get a lot of tax. So he give, even the local government come to a business to arrange the permit. Because if you operate your business without permit, that means you do not need to pay tax. And in the other place, people are very hard to get the permit. In Klong Kong Regency, especially in Nusa Penida, the permit will approach you. So as soon as you have a permit, you pay tax. So that makes the local government raise a lot of money for the development. And Klong Kong Regency, especially in Nusa Penida Islands, grow very, very well. So based on that experience, we have a new project that we call Besikalong Wildlife Sanctuary, where we asked by the local people to set up similar project like Nusa Penida, but we try to make the conservation work. It's why there's not only protect bird, but also protect all our wildlife. And then for traditional villages, and 9 Subak committed to do that. We make the agreement at Besikalong Temple. That is why we call it Besikalong Wildlife Sanctuary.
Okay.
I try very hard to influence the key person there through the adat or through the government kind of village structure. Use Nusa Penida as experience. I said you must be very, very careful about how you develop this. And I think with this COVID-19 pandemic, very, very good education for them. We can see how much like Nusa Dua, Kuta suffering because there is no tourists and people already spoiled to work in tourism industry. So I said to this village, you can see those good examples. And if you only rely on tourism as your main income, it will be very, very fragile. But if you stick with your agriculture, but how to make this agriculture activity can make money, it's that you not only sell, my principle, being a farmer, you're not making money only from the product, but the process should be able to make
I'd
money.
like to focus on one point you mentioned. You mentioned volunteer tourism. Now,
Yeah.
I know this because, of course, I have a guest house and I work with volunteers also. It's always a gray area because Balinese or immigration doesn't have sometimes the best the reputation, because sometimes you have volunteers who are doing good things. For example, they go to a school, they teach local people English, and then immigration comes in and deports them or fines them. So I want to know how you made it so that you could have volunteers and the volunteers are maybe not afraid of being deported. Right? It's the biggest fear. It's the biggest fear. You want to do something good. You want to be a volunteer. And you're always thinking, oh my God, is this actually allowed? Because I heard stories about immigration and stuff. How did you make it so to make a deal? Was it a deal with immigration, or did you already have a letter from the Bupati that made it so that you can have volunteers? How did you do it? And this is important information for those who are in Bali who want to be a volunteer or has a business and they want to take volunteers. How do we do it?
So for those who stay with us more than 30 days, usually we give them sponsor letter to apply social culture visa for their before they arrive. But for those who spend only 1 day or 3 days, it's not really much activity they will do. It's not very obvious. Our volunteer in Nusa Penida, the police department even asked our organization to send some of our volunteers to teach their staff English. The local hospital. So as long as we're very clear, they are doing this because I hide it sometimes how I present. These tourists want to learn Indonesian by exchange, by teaching English. So
Right.
they are both, it's not like in a working situation.
Right.
So we
Right.
have special class for that. Sometimes they just kind of visit to the school. We bring some donation, and then in between we teach the kid English in a way like a game. It's not really like on the class kind of situation.
Right. Right.
So similar like in the national park, to enter the park we pay quite high entrance fee, but our volunteer always get local people kind of rate to enter. But we always confine the park. If our guests coming, for example, in a day, they must plant a tree at least equal value with the entrance fee. So in reality, we do at least double than what the entrance fee costs. So when we show that benefit to the local government as well, then I think it's not a problem. Because a lot of time I even bring my volunteer to the authority, local government or the police department. So we don't have any problem so far. So we heard in other organization have the problem because the volunteer working like officially, like for example, teaching English, they have a kind of curriculum, and this volunteer responsible for the whole curriculum. So actually, with that situation, you must have a social culture visa for that.
Social culture visa.
We have also a regular volunteer coming to us through the AUSAID program. It's called Australian Volunteer International. Even this big kind of organizer funded by Australian government who had MOU with Indonesian government to run this kind of social work. Sometimes the immigration people come. I heard one organization in Jakarta keep having problem with the immigration because of that. So it depends on how obvious your job as a kind of a setup job, like professional job. If it's just like still like playing tourist, they still use like casual outfit and so on. I think it's not a problem.
Fair enough. I think that's actually a very good point, especially for the audience who's be listening to this, who are afraid about volunteering. So to be clear, you cannot be too official, right? When you're volunteering, assuming you're just helping out, you're just there to support the project. So if let's say you go to Kluchung and you want to help Anik Ayu but not be in trouble with immigration, don't tell people that I'm the official member of Kluchung project. You're just there enjoying the project. Don't make it sound so obvious. And maybe 𝗦𝗦𝗍𝗍 in the future when you have your project in Jembrana, and you have a volunteer who wants to help with your project, just remind them you're just here to support our project. Nothing official. Keep it light and breezy. And actually, that's the advice that I also tell my team sometimes. And I have volunteers too sometimes who want to support what we do, and the biggest question they have is like, is this legal? Is this not legal? What's the situation? I said, look, you're here as a guest, you're just here to support because we're doing a very good thing with the environment, with the local people. And that's that. They don't get paid anyway. It makes no difference. So it's just there to help. And I think that's the key point. And that is the end of the webinar. Before we finish, can we have closing remarks from our three speakers? Now, of course, those in the audience, if you want to reach out to our speakers, check your inbox because we will be sending you their contact details to reach them out directly. And please join the next webinar. Have your questions. The only way that we can beat this fight against over-tourism is by working together. So now, closing remarks. Let's go with Anik Ayu. Closing remarks for the audience and for the Kluchung project. Anik?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, give us some closing remarks.
Yeah, the earth is a shared place to stay. So if we keep our place in a good way here, meaning that we also keeping our place, in our neighbor place in a good way. So let's work hand in hands to keep the environment good, to keep the community healthy, and having a good, good positive spirits. And let's keep holding in the principle of the three hitakarana. Thank you.
Thank you, Anik. The earth is a shared place. Pak DENIEK, your next closing remarks, please.
Yeah, thank you, Krishna. Yeah, for me, it is important that www.plantsource.id will continue to become our legacy, because this will be the most unique website of plant species that is available in the world. It's easy to use and has more than 160,000 pictures for free. So
Wow.
students, lecturers, scientists, researchers, they can just download photos from our website for free. But they only pay if they use it for commercial purposes.
Wow.
Because
Thank
our
you,
whole
Pak DENIEK.
purpose is to have education, to have educate for researchers, for education, and for conservation. That is our website. Our hope is in the future, we need involvement from a lot of people, that plantsource.id will be able to stand on their own feet. Because
Thank you,
right now,
DENIEK.
everything depends on me, and I'm not going to live forever. So I think
Humans don't live forever yet.
I have friends that joining this one younger generation. There's Dr. Joko Rido, and there's Dwi, there's Dina. Those are the people that involved in this project, and I already tell them when I'm gone, they will take over in the future.
Fair enough.
And that website must continue to exist. So, but to be able to continue to exist, we need help from people.
Nice.
People like Barbara Johnson, my friend, who helped right from the beginning. So hopefully there will be more people to help us on this one.
Dr. Bayu, last speaker, closing remarks.
I hope just more young generation willing to work in this conservation work. It's not a lot of money that you can earn, but you can have a meaningful life. That's something you can tell story to the next generation. I think you will really have a very important legacy if you involved in this social work. It doesn't matter if it's for conservation or for humanitarian. It can be your profession, it can be your side job, but we need more people like us doing this kind of conservation. So if you check to the internet, it's very few Indonesian NGO really have a big operation in conservation. And we hope with this new era, more young generation will be involved in this conservation work.
Thank you, Dr. Bayu. Thank you very much. You know, maybe it's not important to make a lot of money, but to have a meaningful life, to say that proudly, that's a real gift. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you all for being part of this webinar. You are now part of the conversation. You are part of the fight, the movement for three hitakarana in action. Let's do it together. Thank you very much. And let's stay in touch. I hope at the very least you have made one connection. Hi, Alex and kids. You made at least one connection. You have at least one call to action that you will do after this webinar ends. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Krishna. See you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.